On today's podcast, we cover energy drinks, popular supplement choices, and their efficacy levels, and the supplement routine we have developed for ourselves. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Reckless Training Podcast. Today, we are covering our third part of our three-part series. And we're leaving supplements for last because
Well, it's in the name. They're supposed to be supplemental, and we want to make sure that the focus is on, proper whole body nutrition first, utilizing whole foods, utilizing sleep, utilizing water, and then we can dive into the supplements that elite athletes will need in order to fuel their performance. And some Gen Pop people from, some certain micronutrient deficiencies from dietary changes of both.
I think that's important to remember because a lot of us are looking for like the thing that is going to get us like quick results or to the next level faster. And supplements are a small portion that can be utilized, but they're not going to be a end all be all. So,
Yeah, just like we've talked about earlier in this series, marketing strategies are rampant, right? You live in a capitalism economy. And I think that it's just very, very important to remember that when we're thinking about what claims companies make in terms of performance enhancement, etc. So, do pre-workouts work? Yes. How much do they work? If they improve your performance by 1 to 3%, it's a lot. Now for high level athletes, that can compound over time, but it's like you just said, it is not the magic bullet that people are looking for. And everyone's looking for ways to what is the one thing that they're missing? There is no one thing that you're missing, and we're going to go over why that is, I think, in this
yeah,
section.
great. Last series, or I'm sorry, the part two, we talked about, we ended talking a little bit about energy drinks and encouraged people to come back to discuss our thoughts on popular energy drinks. So I think we'll start there, and just sticking to what we promised. I did several 1,000 hours. I'm just kidding. I did some research on energy drinks, breaking down like common ingredients that they add into things like Celsius or like canned energy drinks is a lot of what I did because those are very popular. Everyone has them, like they're like the thing. Teenagers are drinking them.
Yeah, and there are certain things that are advertised in pretty much all energy drinks that are pre-canned in the show.
If you love fitness, they're probably part of your routine. If you go to a fitness expo or event, especially like the Arnold or their energy expos have energy drinks everywhere.
Yeah. And you get them for free because that's how much they cost to produce. Okay, they're not free, but they're very expensive. And yeah, and we'll see why.
Or like the alcohol of fitness people.
Yeah.
Okay. So some energy drinks, the main ingredient is caffeine, right? Because they kind of like boost several things for us. Some ergonomic effects of caffeine are increased alertness and vigilance. So it kind of just combats like fatigue and sleepiness. I know that's earth shattering to you guys. It can improve reaction time and attention. So, like for tasks requiring quick response and focus, it can be essential in helping with that. It can enhance muscular performance. So you can see increases in muscle strength, power, endurance in various exercises. Um, it's thought to be a mainly central effect, but it also involves enhanced calcium release of muscle cells. So there's, a claim to that as well too. Let's see. Better postural stability. It can enhance the body's position, control, and static dynamic balance performance. So again, it's just kind of like increasing attention, motor control for specific performances. If we are more alert, usually we're quicker, we have better control, think a little bit faster, and have more energy to perform the tasks or workout that we have ahead of us. Lastly, it can reduce perception of effort and pain. So it can kind of blunt signals to the brain that says this is like really hard. Um, so it can help individuals sustain higher performance. The end.
Mhm.
Yeah, so caffeine is an ingredient or something that you can use to help. But remember what I listed it actually helps for. So drinking caffeine like throughout the day, all day, every day, sitting at a desk might help with some like mental performance, but there can also be detractions from using caffeine in that aspect as well too. A lot of these things I mentioned are like a physical activity benefit.
Yeah, because and that's how studies are going to look at these different types of supplements, right? Is they're going to put you in a situation where it could potentially be useful, and they're going to see how useful it is. Now, if you're sitting at a desk all day and you have a pretty crappy diet and you're just downing energy drink after energy drink, you're probably not going to have a great appetite. Your body's going to start trying to run on that caffeine, which is going to keep you in that constant cyclical phase of feeling like you have adequate energy, right? Because at this point, now you're just getting by. It's not really putting you up over the edge anymore.
Right.
You're having adequate energy right before that drop off again, before you feel like you need a redose on caffeine. And now you're starting to feel sick, maybe a little nauseated because you're overdosing caffeine. You don't have enough actual nutrients in your body. You might start to get like some anxiety because of that same thing, the jitters, right? So when we're thinking about caffeine supplementation, it's very, very important to think about what we're doing when we are supplementing with it, right? And I think one thing I realized is if I had an energy drink while I'm driving, I would start to sweat and it would smell like my stress sweat. Like
Yeah.
it my stress sweat does not smell good. And it's different than like my
It
pain
is.
sweat, like when I'm going in the gym, even if I've had the energy drink, if I'm in the gym and I'm doing work, there's different metabolites and I mean metabolic processes that are happening, and it's just a better environment for your body. So we just want to be, again, like our coaching principle is intentionality, right? So we want to be intentional with when we are consuming this caffeine. And if you don't absolutely need it for something, you probably shouldn't take it, right? And the more you can save this caffeine for your workout, the better your strength and performance increases are going to be, right? The more noticeable that caffeine is, rather than just like getting to the gym, feeling like you're dragging ass and feeling like you need that caffeine just to do something, not to perform over and above. Now you're just having that caffeine just to do something.
Right.
So we want to be very, very intentional with that. And, generally speaking, on rest days, we suggest for people to like kind of pull back on their caffeine.
Yes.
Um, After a prep, we tell people to you start to pull back on the caffeine because normally caffeine goes up, up, up the closer you get to a show. Um, so yeah, we want to make sure that we are just practicing intelligent supplementation practices with this, and we're not just overly relying on this. We want to rely on whole food, right? So if you're tired, you're probably not eating enough nutrients, enough real nutrients, or you're dehydrated.
Yes, that's the point I was gonna make, is caffeine will dehydrate you as well, which is another.
You feel fatigued when you're dehydrated. So it can be a perpetual cycle.
So go have another energy drink.
Yeah.
Will it dehydrate you more? Because now they're only 12 ounces, and so it's just like it's this constant thing. So
Yeah. I know for me, anecdotally, because your examples were really great. If I have a let well, I'll just be very candid. If I'm coaching an athlete on show day, I am already like alert level like 10. I'm excited. I'm like ready to perform. I'm like paying attention. I'm thinking about it. Like I'm already like tunnel vision on like this is what I'm here to do. If I have caffeine, I boost my anxiety like a crazy amount. And so that focus and attention becomes like
too much. You start.
yeah, it's like unhinged. Like
Yeah.
now I can't focus because I'm like I have this extra stimulant inside me, which I already have a natural uh probably adrenaline release that's making me like, okay, today's the day we're gonna do this thing. So if I add caffeine to it, even if I don't sleep, I am
I think
very
especially if you don't sleep, like in this exact instance, right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? This exact instance, I think that not sleeping makes you a little more prone to being more jittery and more anxious when you're having high levels of caffeine because your body just doesn't function as well, right?
I almost feel like I can't make decisions.
Mhm.
Like, I just like start bouncing around from like, I do this, then I just cannot focus on the client and if we're, we have a problem. So, like, for me to perform at my best, sometimes removing caffeine is the answer.
Which, and to that point, and we'll talk about this a little later on, maybe instead of an energy drink, a better choice would be an electrolyte with some creatine. So, anyway, foreshadowing. We'll get to that later.
So just so you know, caffeine, like per can, is anywhere from 80 to 300 milligrams, which is a big range. So definitely like look at the back of the label. Um, there's also usually multiple ingredients that contribute to that caffeine amount. A cup of coffee, just for reference, is around 80 to 85 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah. And to your point about like the other ingredients in these things, I think it was Rain or Bang who got sued because of the amount of these supplements that was in the can. And they didn't lose because there is CoQ10 and creatine because it was Bang. That's what it was. There are these things in there, but it's in such a low amount. It's literally just put in there so that they can say it's in there and they can put it on the can and they can sell it to you guys. So when you're drinking that energy drink that's in a can and it says CoQ10 and creatine and taurine, it'd be like,
All around the top.
yeah, what's in that can is artificially sweetened caffeine.
Yeah.
That's what you're drinking, right? So if that's what you want, great, but don't go to the shelf, grab an energy drink thinking that you're getting your creatine for the day because you are not. So, and I think it even said super creatine or something like that.
Yeah, I think I did remember seeing that too.
Yeah. So just again, marketing, not your friend.
Well, to that point, taurine is something that is put in energy drinks, which is taurine in itself can help with athletic performance, energy levels. It can be a healthy antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, but the amount does matter, and there is some mixed scientific evidence. So we're throwing things in there that are just helping enhance the caffeine experience. Like B vitamins are supposed to help with just helping continue to metabolize energy, basically.
Yeah, and I also read that like B12, low levels of B12 will lead to lower energy levels. But if you're not B12 deficient and you're supplementing with B12, this is a complete non sequitur, and I haven't looked into it. But I was talking to Max, and he was telling me that he stopped drinking energy drinks a while ago because of the fact that he read something about this guy who had growths in his brain that were associated with the B12 intake of energy drinks. He stopped drinking energy drinks, not Max, this guy, and those growths started to go down in size. So it's very interesting, and like when you have an overabundance of certain things in your body, sometimes your body can't get rid of it, and that's just an important fact to remember when we're thinking about all of these different types of like artificially synthesized supplements, because most of these things in these drinks and supplements are artificially made. They're not derived from actual process. And that's actually one of the reasons why I liked Cage Muscle in the beginning, is because of how they derived their VCAAs. It wasn't in this like superheated synthetic process. It was a much more natural process from natural. So anyway,
No, that's a good point. No, that's a good point. Because I think that's true. Like, you're not going to get your vitamins from energy drinks, but also the source of where they're coming from. And remember, your body is very smart. And it wants to do things. It wants to be active. It wants to have energy. Like, a lot of times, if we're just taking care of like the healthiest body that we have, some of these things just naturally start to happen. We naturally start to have more energy, lose body fat, like
because your body can build on itself, right? It's like the circadian rhythm, the very basis. If you don't have a good circadian rhythm, your body's wondering if I'm supposed to be awake or asleep right now. It doesn't know.
I think sometimes we just throw too much at it because we want these certain effects when we just need to like build from a strong foundation. And then you're also more sensitive, I think, to what other things you might add in for a small enhancement. Versus like starting with like feeling like crap and then just throwing a bunch of stuff in there and hoping that's going to fix the problem. And it's not intentional. It's artificial, and it just can make you maybe feel good for like a short period of time, but then you can run into things like dependence and
Yeah. Yeah, it's everything.
other issues. But yeah, other herbal caffeine sources that may be in energy drink are guarana, ginseng. So like on the label, it can look like there's a lot of healthy things in there, but again, just be an educated consumer. From our discussion today, it kind of gives a good indicator that if you need caffeine, there might be some better caffeine sources. If you like caffeinated energy drinks, just be careful, limit it. Don't be double fisting
Yeah.
energy drinks.
Yeah, and I think another good point to point out is that there's, multiple different sources of caffeine, right? There's caffeine anhydrous, which again, that's a synthetic.
Okay, that's a good thing too.
And then I think that you and I both do better with caffeine from natural sources like green coffee bean or green tea extract.
100%.
It's, less jittery, less anxiety, less crash. And I think that it is more expensive to use that caffeine, but there are companies out there that use that caffeine in their pre-workouts. And I think Ghost even uses it in their energy drinks,
Okay.
which Ghost is one of the only ones that uses methylcobalamin as their B12 instead of cyanocobalamin, which is just a more bioavailable version. And cyanocobalamin, when your body has to break it down, it does produce a cyanide particle or molecule or wherever, and then your body has to get rid of that, right? So it's just, again, it's just understanding the fact that these companies are going to choose the cheapest option so they can make the most money. And it's up to the consumer to understand what you're putting in your body, right? And as a drug test athlete, that's what they tell you, is you are responsible for what you put in your body. And you can say, well, I bought this supplement at GNC. It doesn't matter because either the illegal supplement is on the label and you shouldn't be taking it, or it's not. And generally speaking, these tested federations have provisions for that. If it's not on the label, you can pay to have that supplement tested. And if it's in there and it wasn't on the label, then you might get like a 1-year ban or something because you really weren't trying to cheat, but you were still on that. And now they want to give you time to get that stuff out of your system so that you can come back on the platform and compete, legally again. So, and then they're going to put that supplement on a list, which there are WADA guideline lists that tell you supplement companies to be aware of. Like back in the day, Blackstone Labs, the CEO went to jail for a while because they were putting stuff in that supplement that was not on the label, but they wanted it to work, right? And guess what? It did, but you were taking something you didn't know you were taking.
Yeah.
So having supplements that are third-party tested, which is widely available at this point, that is very, very important. Whether you're a drug test athlete or not, right? Because you just want to know what you're putting in your body. Goes back to the intentionality thing. We want to be intentional with what we're doing.
Yeah, I definitely at one point was using supplements from a supplement store and I don't even know where. And I was like, wow, these things really work. And I wasn't the only one that was like, this is crazy. So just lends to the fact of like also some supplement companies do produce like things that they sell under the table. So you don't know if it's going in their product or not. So again, if you are a natural athlete, you just want to be very, very careful. And even if you're not, like, you still want to just be wise. Like, what are you experiencing? Is creatine really giving me like this much fat loss or this much energy? Like,
Yeah. And I think almost especially, in my head, I almost say, well, if you're an assisted athlete, it might not matter as much, but actually it might matter more because you have more variables going into that blood panel, right? You have more things that you need to consider and you have more potential interactions.
yes.
And you don't want to be taking some sort of peptide or TRT or something that's going to interact with a drug that you don't even know that you're taking. And
It's scary to not know what you're taking.
yeah. So really choosing those third-party tested companies, which for me, I like Cage Muscle and Unmatched because I've been following Chris Geethan for a long time since he started Cage Muscle. And I think that his mentality surrounding supplementation and surrounding performance in general, I like it a lot. But I know that there are others as well. I think Core Nutritionals might be third-party tested. I don't know. I know that there are. Usually they're labeled. Usually it says third-party tested on the supplement.
Because supplements in the United States are not tested.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, because it's not under the FDA provisions, so they don't have to test them for dosing and stuff.
They don't have to tell you anything.
So okay, I've
Wait, I want to go back.
We've switched. Yeah, let's go back.
Cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin, because I think that is that was like a real trendy thing for a little bit. People were talking about cyanocobalamin and cyanide in your energy drinks being poison, stuff like that. Cyanocobalamin is a synthetic form of B12. Very common because it is cheap, and it's also in fortified foods, so it's not just in your energy drinks. And your liver has to convert it into active forms of methylcobalamin. So you have the synthetic B12 derivative that your body now has to make into an effective B12 uh, vitamin. And anytime I try to research, like, is a cyanocobalamin bad for you, it would say it contains a small like amount of cyanide that is non-harmful. So that's the conclusion I came to.
Yeah, so is BHT and BHA and Red 40 and sucralose and
You may be fine, you may be not.
yeah, all of these things are non-harmful. It's just interesting. It's just
Well, it just goes to the point of like the guy with the growths in his brain. People do end up with like hives sometimes and itchiness. Like if your body is reacting to something, it's on red alert for some reason. So you just want to be really, really careful. Methylcobalamin is bioactive and bypasses that whole conversion that I just talked about. And it's also great because if you have a genetic variant, um, MTHFR, or gut issues, methylcobalamin is going to be much better. So, also cyanocobalamin, I did read, can interfere with certain medications like metformin. So, if you are diabetic or you're taking something for insulin sensitivity, you may want to be really careful about taking that B vitamin. And it also interacts with oral chemotherapy agent called hydroxyurea. People will take that for certain cancers or sickle cell anemia. I heard you typing away. You had something on the.
yeah. I had read like you were talking about the cyanide, blah blah blah. I read that your body uses B12 to get rid of cyanide from the body.
Okay.
So that's where like there was a whole thing about cyanocobalamin being a human waste product that is recycled and put into products as B12. So I was just looking, I was trying to find that answer, and it looks like cyanohydroxocobalamin is how your body gets rid of cyanide, right? It stores hydroxocobalamin and then it bonds with cyanide to create cyanohydroxocobalamin. So it's still very close, just doesn't have that. I'm assuming it's a hydrogen.
Molecule.
Yeah, so it doesn't have that, but it is very close. But regardless, if it has methylcobalamin, your body doesn't have to convert it to use it. It's not bioavailable. Cyanocobalamin has to break up that link. It creates the cyanide in the cobalamin, and then it methylates that cobalamin and turns it into usable B12 for your body. So, they say like, things in that small of a dose aren't harmful. But again, we're not talking about like, is this going to kill you from drinking at one time? We're talking about low levels of chronic inflammation that are held in your body because of things that we are doing to it on a regular basis. Right? And if we're constantly drinking cyanocobalamin, no, it's probably not going to kill you. No, you're probably not going to die from cyanide poisoning. But your body has to deal with getting rid of those molecules one way or another. It has to. And now, because it has to devote resources towards that, it doesn't have as many resources to devote towards building muscle or getting stronger or staying healthy or whatever it is, right?
Recovery.
Yeah. So it's just about picking your battles. And if you absolutely have to have an energy drink and there are no other options but a Red Bull or a Celsius or a Rain or one of these things one of the cheaper options, do what you got to do, but you understand what you're doing. And again, everything is intentional and nothing is done in ignorance. We want to make decisions based on we want to make educated decisions. We don't want to make decisions out of ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And the only other thing that I wanted to comment on briefly with energy drinks is either added sugars or artificial sweeteners is another big ingredient in there. I think most athletes are picking a sugar-free option. We did talk about artificial sweeteners in the last podcast episode, so I won't rehash that. But um, it is another thing that your body has to deal with that is artificial, that does cause inflammation, does cause an insulin response. If we are increasing our insulin and now we're adding caffeine to it, like we may have like a very immediate bout of like great energy for a workout, but I feel like you're probably setting yourself up for a big crash after your energy deficit. And it may not be most beneficial for like recovering from that.
You know, it's interesting. They when artificial sweeteners first came out, they talked about the like sugar deficit or something like that, like how it makes your body crave for sugar because it thinks it's getting those calories and it's not actually getting those calories. And like that description never true, it kind of made sense to me, but not really. But then like going further, now we've seen how artificial sweeteners do create a blood sugar and insulin response. And how when you're not getting blood sugars put into your bloodstream from those artificial sweeteners, but you're getting that response, now you're going to have that response, but then your blood sugars are going to drop, and then your body's going to be looking for that food and the fuel, and so it is kind of creating an energy deficit. So yeah, it's just that's very interesting. Not really a non sequitur, but I just had that thought. I just wanted to just share that. I had another one, but that bounced out of my head while I was talking about that one. So
Bounce right out.
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about foundational nutrients and common vitamin supplementation. You want to go there next or you want to talk about performance?
Oh wait, I want to back up.
Okay.
One more thing. I remember what it was. Artificial sweeteners, they're super, super sweet. And when your body gets that sweetness, it has that dopamine response and it craves more sweetness. Right?
100%.
So it makes it very difficult, like when you're dieting or something. That's why we constantly walk around with our shakers full of hydrocharge or BCAAs, right? It's because it's creating that desire for that sweetness. So yeah, just be aware of that as well. That's I think that was all that I wanted to say. Okay, moving on.
All right. So common vitamins and micronutrients and how we supplement with some foundational supplements. So I think it's important to understand like what certain vitamins and micronutrients do for us, especially as athletes. So I'm gonna go through some quick things that maybe you didn't realize. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is a thing that people think really do a correlation with either supplementation or sun exposure. Vitamin D does help with blood pressure regulation. So when we're trying to get pumps in the gym, vitamin D does play a role there. Our insulin secretion, vitamin D also plays a huge role with that. So vitamin D helps regulate insulin secretion by promoting its release from pancreatic beta cells. So that vitamin is a factor in that whole process when it comes to like how we're utilizing food. It also helps with testosterone levels, immune function, and bone formation. So really key. For vitamin D, there are a lot of recommendations on the dosage that people should be taking. I recently found out that the best method of finding if your vitamin D levels are where they need to be is through a lab test. Just kind of making sure that you're within a specific range. And also you should go by symptoms as well too, because I think labs can tell us one thing, but if we're still feeling like super lethargic and vitamin D is kind of it's in within range, but maybe on the low end, it can't hurt to increase that and see if that does help.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's other important things to remember, right? Like each individual's metabolism is different.
Yeah.
Right. So someone might need a little bit more because they metabolize something a little faster, or they can't use it as efficiently, or whatever the reason is. So like you said, like get your blood work done. And that almost seems like like, duh, that's the best way to see the levels. But when you do your research, that's not what you find. What you find is you should take no more than 5,000 IUs per day.
Yeah.
Right. And and then you start doing more research and more research and more research. And then you start finding people who are doing these lab tests. They're looking at symptoms. They're trying to fix these symptoms. And then they're supplementing with up to like 20,000 IUs per day. Right. And it just seems crazy, but different people need different things. Don't take 20,000 IUs of vitamin D.
Everyone's going to go do it right now. Everyone wants
Without-
muscle pumps.
Yeah, without, first getting your blood work done and second getting your blood work done, right? Like get your blood work done, look at your levels, try supplementing, then look at your levels again and see what that supplementation did. Because I could take 10,000, you could take 10,000, and I guarantee your vitamin D levels are going to be different at the end of the
Yeah. And you also want to take a comprehensive look at your overall health when you're looking at labs.
Yeah.
We don't want to like pinpoint one thing. We're like, oh, vitamin D is low, must take XYZ. Like if you don't have any issues and you're feeling great, like don't mess with it. And if you have low energy or problems with insulin sensitivity, it might be several other factors. So I think that's a hard thing, is like looking at a comprehensive look.
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to what you said earlier about how everyone is really just looking for that one thing that they're missing. And I can guarantee you that it is not one thing that you're missing. Okay, it's not. And what Chris and I have learned from going through this process for years apart and then also together, because apart we learn things about ourselves and about the athletes that we work with. And then together we've been able to see the athlete that sits across from us on a daily basis and see what they do and how it affects them. And all of that information is getting stored away as well. So we've had a lot of experience in just learning what variables really matter, right? Because when you're not just looking for that one variable, when you're just looking for anything that can help, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
But I said that looking for anything that can help, not looking for the magic bullet, right? Understanding that the magic bullet is your effort level. That's in my head, that is the magic bullet. I know that I have control over my effort level, and every time I step in that gym, I better be working as hard as I fucking can, because everything else that I'm doing doesn't matter if I'm not working as hard as I can in that gym, if I'm not staying focused when I'm in that gym. So yeah,
Intentionality.
yes, intentionality and comprehensive approach. Okay, back to you.
All right, live. Okay. So also, magnesium is a really important vitamin. It's important for carbohydrate and fat metabolism, DNA and protein synthesis, blood pressure reduction, sleep, nerve impulse, and melatonin production. So magnesium is something most of us are pretty deficient in. We're going to go into magnesium a little bit more in depth, but you can see that it has a lot of areas of like aiding our bodies.
Yeah, vast majority of people are deficient in magnesium. So
Vitamin E is an antioxidant, and actually helps with acne issues and immune function. So that's, I think, like a sleeper one. I do see vitamin E fortified in a lot of foods now. I feel like for some reason, I think probably it's antioxidant properties. That's a big thing. Everybody wants antioxidants. But yeah, if you struggle with like skin health issues, that might be something to either bring up to your practitioner or look at tracking your food and seeing where your vitamin E levels might be in your diet. Zinc, if it is low, will decrease muscle and strength. It's linked with low testosterone and lower immune function. Iron is needed for red blood cells and oxygen delivery, energy, and cardiac output. Calcium is good for muscle contraction, bone formation. Iodine, really important for thyroid hormone production, and selenium is also great for T4 to T3 conversion. So a lot of times when we're deep into prep, sometimes we need to be looking at, especially if you're natural, your iodine and your selenium intake, because that could be a big help at kind of assisting your thyroid. It's not going to make your thyroid change like you would if you took a thyroid medication, but it may just help with supplementing to keep it from down regulating, just maybe a little bit.
yeah, and I think I've read that iron and iodine deficiencies can also cause like brain fog and lethargy. So
That makes sense.
all symptoms of prep, which could be low food, but also I've been on low food where I haven't felt super fatigued. I've been on low food where I have felt super fatigued. I felt like shit. And it's, I think stress has a lot to do with it, right? When you're stressed, your metabolism changes, your internal metabolism down to the cellular level changes because you're activating that fight or flight mechanism in your body. So again, we've talked about this before. Managing stress is so important when you're an athlete because either your body is putting resources towards managing that stress or it's putting resources towards building and recovery and growth. You can't really have it both ways. I've heard you can't burn fat and build muscle at the same time. That's crap. That's BS. But I've found that you cannot be stressed out and grow at the same time. Because when you're stressed, your body's trying to survive. It's not trying to grow.
Yes.
So you grow from a place of relative comfort, right? Like, I say make yourself uncomfortable to step out of your comfort zone to grow. Kind of talking in circles here because I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea of like your life has to be super easy for you to grow.
Yeah.
But mentally, we have to feel confident and in control of what's happening so that we can feel like we can continue to push and make ourselves uncomfortable the way we choose to, not the way that the world wants us
I
to.
was going to say that I think that's two-part. It's making decisions of like what stress we're allowing in our, because sometimes we allow stress that doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah.
Like stress about
Who's liking or commenting my posts on social media, like silly things like that. If you find that scrolling makes you feel a certain way, put some parameters on it so that we're not just allowing mindless activities or mindless things into our life that create some type of emotional or mental stress. So like true making those conscious decisions, and then because we will not live a stress-free life, deciding, okay, my work, I have to make money. Like this is a job where I do enjoy it, but it does bring some stress into my daily routine at times. Now I need to work on my mentality around this activity. And the same thing when it goes to prep. You invite prep into your life, it is stressful. You're inviting stress in.
Yeah.
So you have to be like vigilant about your mentality surrounding what you're you're opening the door to, so that you are handling it as best you can, right? You don't have to be perfect, but if we're like, oh my gosh, this is stressful, my life is stressful, probably stressful, like, and we can kind of like rid some things, we need to be like,
Yeah.
taking majority.
I'm a big fan, and I've said this to you multiple times, that I believe that anxiety and excitement are right next to each other on the emotional scale.
Yeah, you do say that.
And sometimes all that we can do is take that step into being excited about what's happening instead of being anxious and stressed out about what's happening.
It's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your earlier, you kind of touched on this as what you were just talking just now about how, generally speaking, the stress that we're experiencing, we asked for it, right? Just like you said about prep, we asked for that stress. And with you and me about getting new athletes, we want that stress.
Yeah.
Right? Having athletes compete, we want that stress. So it is sometimes very easy to fall into the, oh my gosh, this is so stressful, I have so much to do. But when we take a step back, just like you said, it's perspective. It's a perspective shift. It's a mentality shift. And it's an internal dialogue shift. When you take a step back and remind yourself, like, this is what I want. This is great. This is fantastic. I could be sitting on my ass and have nothing to do right now. But instead, I get to help these people. Instead, I get to do this. Instead, I get to compete in this. Instead, I get to do these things. I get to go to the gym. We get to record this podcast. So, changing that mentality, I'm sure the vast majority of people listening right now have heard these things because it's kind of cliche at this point, but it's so true. Your internal dialogue dictates how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself. And then how you think dictates how you act. And if you think this is stressful, I'm a subpar athlete, what do you think the result is going to be? If you think I freaking love this, this is great. When you're in the gym and you're working and you're getting a pump and you're like, wow, this is amazing. What do you think the result is going to be? Right. And it feels like, well, duh, like obviously this is going to be the better result. But how many of us go into the gym and we have a stressful mentality surrounding it? Right. So,
well, you were saying that you started saying a mantra to yourself every morning.
yeah. So I was reading about this, the pharmacist somewhere in Europe from a couple hundred years ago, or I don't really remember. Um, and he realized that when he would give a patient a medication and say, this is going to make you feel better, it did. When he didn't say that, chances are those people kept coming back and they stayed sick. So what he started doing with all of his hands-on patients was telling them to repeat to themselves 20 to 40 times a day, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I'll tell you, when you start doing it, you feel it. You feel the shift. As soon as you say it, you're like, you're right. I am. And the discussion I've had with you is like, if you're working towards this thing and you're telling yourself, I'm getting better every single day, how could you not be? Right? Are you saying that that work that you're putting in for 2 or 3 hours a day is meaningless? It's not bringing you anywhere? Well, I went in and, my back hurts today and I don't feel like, I didn't really feel like I couldn't push as heavy as I wanted to. Well, how'd you feel when you left? Well, by the time I left, my back felt better. That's great. You won. That's fantastic. But so many people poo-poo it because, and I'm one of these people, they've hit a PR, and until you hit a new PR, it's meaningless. And that's not true. It is just so not true. Whether you're a powerlifter, whether you're a bodybuilder, whether you're a CrossFit athlete, it doesn't matter. Life is not about PRs. Those are the fun part, right? The competition and the achievements are the fun part. But if you don't enjoy the process, if you don't love what you're doing on a daily basis to bring you to that next PR, that PR is going to be so much further away. So focusing on the end goal instead of the process is a recipe for failure. Focus on the process, love the process, and you're going to succeed. And that's kind of what like this podcast series is. It really touches on that because like you said, people want that quick bullet because they want the outcome. They don't care about the process. They actually don't want the process. That's too much work for them. They just want the outcome. They just want to look like competitors. They just want to be able to perform like powerlifters. They want to be able to run like marathon runners. But they want to know what supplement is going to be able to let them do that. And that's not the case. When you love the process, when you just love figuring out how to make your body work better and be stronger and faster, you're going to get there, right? It's going to happen because you're not even going to be paying attention to that. So it's kind of like a watch pot never boils, when that's all you're focusing on is the outcome. But when you're focusing on cooking because you love cooking, so you put that water on and now you're chopping veggies and you're doing other things. Now all of a sudden that water's boiling. It's ready to put the spaghetti in. But when you're just sitting there watching it because that's all you can think about, how long does it take? It feels like it takes freaking forever. So focus on the process goals, focus on like learning how to do everything properly and stop looking for that magic bullet. So having said that, let's talk about some magic bullets.
All right. So that's your nugget of mental training, which I think is always important. I think
Training
it's
is,
not as sexy, but it is really important.
I believe that your mentality has more to do with your success than your supplement protocol. That's just me. But I've seen it.
Unless you really believe deep down in your heart that your supplement protocol,
That's your mentality.
it's getting me better.
That's your mentality, right? That's your mentality.
Spill.
The placebo effect is a real thing. There are plenty of studies that show that.
That's true.
But it all goes back to your mentality and your internal dialogue. If you say this is working and I'm doing great and I'm getting bigger and stronger, chances are you're right. So anyway, dude, yeah.
I'm getting bigger and stronger and better and better.
Yeah, in case you guys couldn't tell, she gets irritated when I ram that shoe out. So moving on.
I'm just preparing of how it's going to transition into fish oils from that.
Yeah, well, I kind of deviated. So let's go back to the micronutrients that we've discussed in the past. So fish oils.
Yeah. So omega-3s we talked about also in the past podcast as well about how they're anti-inflammatory. They help with cardiovascular health and cognitive support. Things you want to look for in a fish oil label are EPA and DHA. EPA is known to primarily support heart health, reduce inflammation, and improve mood. Usually you're going to see higher numbers of EPA in a supplement. DHA is crucial for brain and eye development, cognitive function, and cell membrane structure. So recommendations that I saw were normally 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 for these two supplements.
And the reason she said you want to look at them is because a lot of times you'll look at a fish oil label and it'll say 1,300 milligrams fish oil, and then it has like 200 milligrams EPA,
Yes.
100 milligrams DHA. So what we look for is most of that fish oil, whatever it is, we want it to be EPA DHA, right? So if it's like a 1,000 milligram, we look for 700 to 900 milligrams of EPA DHA combined, right? We don't want just a bunch of just fat. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what's in there. So
That's an important point because supplements can be very expensive, and a lot of times you have to choose like really high end, very expensive, very low end, and you don't want to just be paying for something that's giving you no benefit. But most of us are on budgets, so finding like a happy medium is usually where we shop. Unless there's one specific product we know like we're gonna like spend a little bit more money on. But thank you for talking about that.
yeah, and we look for wild caught fish, not farm raised fish, and we look for smaller fish, right? Like sardines and mackerels, like preferably not like king salmon or something, because the bigger fish have higher mercury levels.
Yeah, more predatory fish is gonna have more heavy metals in it. A smaller fish will have less. So, like you said, sardines, mackerel, herring, anchovies, if those are listed in the ingredients, generally they're gonna be a little bit lower in heavy metals, higher in the omega 3s.
Do you know about like omega 3s from like seaweed and stuff?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know from plant sources.
Yeah, I would wonder about the heavy metals from that. Like,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I see sometimes from animal products versus plant products is just the bioavailability of vitamins. So some things need to be cooked for them to be more bioavailable, or they need to be paired with something else. When it comes to a plant source, a lot of times the animal source is just making sure that it's coming from, you know, a healthy situation, I guess. Then, but it can be directly consumed and used by the body.
sure, okay.
All right. So magnesium, I also wanted to touch on too before we head into performance supplementation. So there's many different fine forms of magnesium. If you've been overwhelmed by it before, you're not alone. Main things that magnesium does help with is muscle contraction, nervous system, and sleep. So generally, we take it in the evening to kind of help us relax. If you take calm powder, that's a big like trendy thing is to take calm powder at night, which I will say I do feel like it helps me like calm down and relax. Your amount of magnesium is really going to matter. So let's go through some of the like big names that you'll see on a supplement shelf. So magnesium citrate, highly bioavailable, a lot of times helps with digestion, and if you have constipation or slow bowels, it can help with motility. So magnesium citrate might be your go-to if those are your concerns or things that you need to supplement for. Magnesium glycinate is more gentle on a stomach. So if you have a sensitive stomach, this is probably going to be a better option. Also great for sleep and relaxation. I did read also that it may be used to treat depression and anxiety. So magnesium oxide is high elemental content, poor absorption. It can help you go to the bathroom, but it may not be absorbed. So it's just kind of like
That's going to be the cheapest magnesium on the shelf.
that's in a lot of things. And it's working as a laxative, basically. Magnesium sulfate or Epsom salts. They're beneficial for some odd things that I found out. Anti-seizure medication and also used as a laxative. That's for oral consumption. But most of the time you're going to see this in a bath to ease muscle pain, inflammation. The internet told me there are no studies to support these benefits, but I can tell you from experience, I do believe that they really help. And we've also kind of learned that timing your Epsom salts and your baths are important for your performance as well too. So while it may be really helpful in easing muscle pain and help you relax, I think more than one athlete had done like a Epsom salt bath the night before. They were supposed to do like a high performance day, and they struggle on kind of like hitting strength. Uh,
Yeah. Which, I mean, it helps you relax, right? So
yeah,
makes you more
so
relaxed.
it's working,
Yeah.
but time it accordingly.
Yeah.
For like a bodybuilding prep and stuff like that, I think that it's you know, when you have like a lot of cardio and heavy training sessions, they're probably a little bit more helpful because you aren't going to like, you're training intensely, but you're not going to maximal strength. So it just might be used differently for a different type of athlete. Magnesium L-threonate. I had a doctor recommend this to me at one point for depression and anxiety. And I do feel like it helps. It's a little bit more expensive. But it's the only magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier, which I found very interesting. And it helps with cognition, mental processes such as thinking and learning. That's what it's known for, but I do feel like it helps support. I had a really comprehensive supplement regimen to help me in this specific period of my life. But magnesium L-threonate is something that I think really, did benefit. And then magnesium biglycinate is a combination of magnesium and glycine. Good for muscle recovery, less problematic for the digestive tract. I feel like you see that a lot up on the shelves. So, thoughts on magnesium?
I just want to reiterate the point that the vast majority of, I'm going to say Americans, because I know that it has a lot to do with the American diet. I would assume it's worldwide, but the vast majority of Americans are magnesium deficient.
Yeah.
So, supplement with magnesium, it's probably going to help.
I would say key supplements that we use, because we eat pretty good, would be magnesium. Yes, we use that at nighttime. A multivitamin, good multivitamin, just to kind of like,
Yeah, we use the organic one from Kirkland because they use folate instead of folic acid. Actually, I think they might have. No, they didn't switch it yet. But that's why we use that one.
I always do look for the B vitamin.
Yeah, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's like $20 for 80 pills. So it's organic, whole food sources.
Mm-hmm.
So you could find it.
Yes, fish oil also we'll use because we don't eat fish on a regular basis. But it does help with lowering inflammation and a lot of things I mentioned in here. So that's a good one to have on hand. So yeah, those were, and vitamin D. We do supplement with vitamin D. Those are generally the things I recommend people to start with, and then if we find we need to add or subtract, or you kind of go from there. Fish, I think I forgot to mention too, real quickly, fish oils are a blood thinner. So if you are on blood pressure or blood thinner medication, you just want to be careful about your fish oil.
Okay. Yeah, we also take actually I don't know if we're taking it right now, but we've taken zinc in the past. That's supposed to be really for recovery for athletes. And then one other kind of strange one, Galaxia put us on it, astaxanthin. Supposed to be really good for eye health.
It's an antioxidant, so it's supposed to help with like cellular regeneration as well too. I had a little bit of trouble managing my blood sugars on that. Yeah.
Also, I'm still taking it.
You were taking it.
I'm taking that.
I didn't. I just was like, why are my blood sugars dropping? And generally, I've found a place in my routine where I can manage it because I'm a little bit more sensitive to like blood sugar dysregulation. Always have been. But I've done a lot of work on like my routine and help with my body where I don't really have those issues anymore. So it was kind of odd that I was feeling like, man, I just feel like this not sugar crash, but like energy crash. And you know when your blood sugars are kind of like in a weird spot, just start feeling like, oh my gosh. And the only thing that was in my regimen was that. So again, to each their own. I do believe that it's beneficial. Maybe the dosing was just too much for me, or I just don't need it.
Yeah.
So yeah, different people require different things.
So obviously there are a plethora of other supplements available to you on the shelf. CoQ10, curcumin, and curcumin and turmeric are essentially the same thing. They think curcumin is the extract of turmeric. I guess we don't need to go down the. Oh yeah, our vitamin D has K2 in it as well because it helps with deabsorption.
Yes, correct.
So again, like for certain people, there are going to be other supplements that you're going to want to take because you may have other issues. Like we have a friend in heart failure. He's probably going to want to take certain things that we don't necessarily need to look at. One of my brothers has liver issues, so he's probably going to be looking at taking some things that we are looking at taking. He's going to have to avoid certain things that we don't necessarily have to avoid. Um, but by and large, again, we want to be trying to get the vast majority of our macro and micronutrients from our foods, from our food sources.
And men and women also are very different. Women are often low in calcium. And I think also if you are someone who eats extremely healthy or you're in prep, like you're eating, low fat, your macros are kind of in a tight spot, you're going to be selecting certain foods that are going to help fit your macros and help you get through that prep, but they may not be providing all the micronutrients that you need. I recently learned that like just one serving of red meat or serving of dairy can help fill in the gaps for a lot of things. So, I mean, when I was in prep, you were telling me when I was in prep, however long ago that was.
That's right.
You're like, you should have some red meat. I was like, no, I just can't because I don't want to use
So my nut butter.
I want peanut butter. I don't want to have to eat beef fat. But you can get lean steak. Like you can find ways because there are definitely benefits of food variety, and it becomes extra hard when you're dieting to try and make sure that you do cycle through and make sure you have you're getting all those micronutrients from different foods. We're meant to
Meant to have variety, and the fat from red meat is really good for hormone levels. Fat, cholesterol, very good for hormone levels, 100%. And going back to stress, I think you told me that your body converts cholesterol to either cortisol or testosterone based on your stress levels.
well, it
It uses it for.
yes, and it will steal from progesterone. So cortisol will take the place of progesterone in certain situations. So
So the best thing so the one magic bullet that you need, and I'm going to keep harping on this, is your mentality. Just stop stressing out so much. I'm talking to them.
just don't stress.
Yeah, everything's fine. Just be excited.
So that covers some foundational supplements that we use on a regular basis. Do you want to talk about performance?
Yeah, I think before we go into that, the one you brought up to me, actually right before we sat down to record this, is glutathione, because it is a pretty popular antioxidant right now.
Yes. Everybody's taking glutathione.
Yeah, and basically what it does is it just helps reduce oxidative stress. It helps with recovery. It's a group of 3 amino acids. I think it's cysteine, glutamine, and shoot, I forgot the third one.
Peptide.
Glycine. Cysteine, glutamine, glycine. Okay, so it detoxifies, it helps with immune function, it helps with cellular regeneration, controls oxidative stress, mitochondrial function. It's just very beneficial. They have 2 different kinds of oral forms. The normal, like the just encapsulated, is kind of trash. It's not really bioavailable when you take it orally. They have liposol glutathione, which you can take orally, and they do the same thing with vitamin D because they're fat soluble, and it's more bioavailable for your body.
That's a good point. Your vitamin D needs to be taken with fat.
Yeah. Which, if you're taking fish oil with it, that might be sufficient. I take it when I eat my eggs in the morning, eggs and cheese. So, and then the third way that you can supplement, well, there's intravenous as well. You can get IV glutathione, which is obviously very effective but pretty expensive. And then probably the most effective and cost-effective way to do it is supplementing with NAC, which is N-acetylcholine. Is that right? And NAC converts to cysteine, which is the rate limiter for glutathione. So when you have more cysteine, you can have more glutathione in your body, and then the glutathione can help you with your recovery. Supplementation for this, you should not take this before or after your workout. You should take it as far away from your workout as possible. It's kind of like doing endurance training with resistance training. You want to kind of separate the two. Because it battles the inflammation, the oxidative stress. Like, we want some of that inflammation when we're trying to grow muscle. So we want to allow our body processes to work the way they're supposed to. and then we can come in and help with the recovery. And most of our muscle recovery happens overnight. So generally speaking, supplementing with NAC in the evenings is going to be best, in the afternoon or the evenings. So yeah, that's a pretty popular one. I think NAC is really good. It's really good for a lot of things. You know, I think it was first touted for, for your liver function, which, Tutka is another one for, good liver health.
Milk thistle.
Milk thistle. I even think dandelion root, which it'll dehydrate you, but
That's kidney and liver.
yeah, it's good. It's good for kidney and liver health. So, yeah, a lot of stuff there, but yeah, glutathione is a great antioxidant. Supplement with the NAC if you want to get those benefits. Diving into performance enhancing supplements.
Woohoo! Finally!
Probably the first one that everyone talks about is protein, a protein shake.
I did not think that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, you thought I was going to say creatine.
I did.
But usually people, like, I wouldn't think that general population people talk about creatine. I think that if someone is walking to the gym for the first time, they're like, I'm going to start my fitness journey. They're thinking, I need to go buy protein powder so that I can get more protein in my diet.
That's true.
So, an important notation is that whey protein powder has the same glycemic index as white rice, meaning it shoots your blood sugar up. I mean, your insulin response. It all happens very quickly, and that's why probably why it was designed the way it was so that that could happen, and then you could take it post-workout. But it's become kind of adulterated where people try to lean on protein shakes throughout the day as well.
Yeah, to keep getting your protein.
Yeah, and also I think even educated people think that protein is a little slower digesting than like a carbohydrate source. So like it's better to have this protein shake than it is to have this apple juice. And I guess you're getting more protein from this, but at the end of the day, if we're just looking for like energy availability, you're probably going to get something similar for each of them. You're going to get a spike and then you're going to get a drop off.
Well, that would happen to me. You're already insulin sensitive post workout, and I was taking protein powder, having cereal with protein powder as my milk, which if you look at macros, it's really like 5 stars. You're hitting those macros spot on. But I was digesting it so quickly because both those things are quick digesting. Plus, it was post workout. I was already insulin sensitive, and I would feel like garbage for like. It would take me 2 meals to coach back up.
Yeah.
And I thought one time I took my,
Blood sugar level.
yes, I tested because I had a glucometer, and I was like, I just need to know like what I feel like complete garbage right now. What is my blood sugar? And it was like 35.
Yeah.
So it was, which I just already mentioned that I have to be very careful about managing my blood sugars.
Well, it kind of goes back to the artificial sweeteners increasing insulin, right? Because if there's no blood sugar for that insulin spike, then what happens? All the blood sugars that were just sitting in your bloodstream, just happy because now we're in homeostasis, now you have insulin, those blood sugars crash, and now you have like no blood sugars in your blood.
No blood sugars.
No blood sugars.
I mean, how can you do anything with no blood sugars?
So now, having said that, meal timing is important, right? Because I would use that same exact meal before my workout, and I felt fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt great. But I would do that, and then after my workout, I would have real food, right? We'd have like breakfast or something after that.
Do you think you would feel good now doing that?
I don't know. I try it. But I've tried all manner of things. I've tried fasting before my workouts. I like that. I've tried putting a scoop of protein in my pre-workout before my workout. Actually like that. When I was doing that, I would bring the cereal and the protein shake to the gym. Yeah, I would sit at the gym and eat it, and then I would immediately go.
Powerlifters take food to the gym and sit there and eat it and have a good time. Have a party with everybody.
That's why that's how we got you. We're like, I want a party.
I want to be invited. Share donuts over there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it goes back to being intentional about the choices that we make, and then also being observational about what's happening when we make those choices, right? And then being able to be realistic and objective about what is causing those things, right? Because there are going to be some things that we like doing that may not work well for us.
That's true.
And we might try to lie to ourselves and say, well, this isn't what's causing that. And then you try to change something else and this is still there. And you try to change something else and this is still there. And eventually you have to admit, like, okay, I like this, but it's not serving me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. You know, chapter
I
story.
sleep before bed.
Who is in that serving?
I love, and that would be my thing. I'm like, I can't have ice cream in the middle of the day. You have it at night. And then I wouldn't sleep and I'd feel like crap with this thing.
That was really not important for me to mention. But go ahead. Protein powders. Get us back on track.
Yeah, so again, we want to be getting the vast majority of our macro and micronutrients from real whole foods. And now let's break down to when you might use a protein shake. And some people will say, well, if my calories are high, and I can't get all my protein in, sometimes a protein shake is a good thing to do. I would agree with that. I would probably point more towards a casein shake in the evenings to make sure that you are perpetuating that protein synthesis overnight when your body is in it has the highest recovery capacity, rather than a whey protein shake during the day. And that's just my suggestion from my anecdotal experience. I feel like that would be more beneficial for people. I haven't seen the science or studies on how casein protein affects blood sugars, but the casein that we have right now is just 100% casein protein. Does not taste great. You have to work at flavoring it. But that's all that's in there, right? There's no artificial sweeteners that are going to, make you crave sweet stuff or make your blood sugars drop. There's no artificial colors that are going to cause any kind of inflammation. There's no preservatives. It's 100% casein protein powder. So yeah, that would be my swap for that. Do you need a protein shake after your workout? The anabolic window, I'm not going to say it's completely a myth, but what they have found is that if you are getting adequate amounts of protein throughout the day, you don't necessarily have to worry about getting it right after your workout. Now, if you're in an energy deficit and you're dieting, that's when meal timing can really, really make a difference in your performance of the gym.
Well, I think also for females that food timing is a little bit more sensitive because the cortisol response for females is just a little bit more erratic. I guess like you.
All right, I'm just kidding.
So anyway, it's like mealtime before and after our workout. I think is a little bit more important for a female.
But again, if you're an elite athlete and you're trying to strive for those upper echelons, like you want every single percent, every single 0.5% of performance increase that you can get. And that was why I was bringing that cereal to the gym, was because I wanted to make sure that my body was fed for these sessions.
Yeah.
And I did. I felt great for those sessions. So
I'll bring it after.
yeah, but that didn't work for you. Cereal. Anyway, yeah, you want to use all of the available resources. There is no one thing that's going to take you to the next level. The one thing that's going to take you to the next level is mastering a comprehensive approach to your training protocol. That's the one thing.
So we should put a catchy tagline on this podcast. The one thing we need. The magic bullet.
Yeah.
Okay. Protein powder, you think?
Companies make a lot of money off protein powder.
Yeah.
And the return on your investment is not as great as they would have you believe.
If you struggle with satiety, I would not be eating protein.
Yes. And that's kind of where I was going with, okay, your calories are high, you can't get enough protein, have some protein powder, but now your calories are low, you definitely don't want to have protein powder because you want to be eating all that food. You want to eat every calorie that you can. So, yeah, again, it's like when we start looking at food as fuel, and you start feeling how much better your body feels when it's fueled by whole foods, I think it becomes a lot easier to make those changes and to stop looking for those quick fixes. So moving on from the probably the most talked about supplements and the most researched supplement.
Yeah.
I want to talk about creatine. Creatine, like I just said, is the most researched supplement on the market. There are a couple different kinds. There's creatine ethyl ester, there's creatine monohydrate, creatine hydrochloride. There might be a couple other ones. Now they're coming out with like creatine gummies and shit. Like there's a lot of different things that you could do.
There's like 6 different creatines.
Yeah. So the 3 big ones are the ones I named. The biggest and least expensive is creatine monohydrate. That's the one that's been most studied.
Yes.
Probably the second most popular is HCl because of its efficacy. It is basically more concentrated. So it's like 20%. Like you can take 20% the amount of HCl versus monohydrate and get similar benefits theoretically. They have the studies that they have done initially were obviously looking at strength and power output and hypertrophy. They found time and time again that creatine helps with power output. On a regular basis, once your cells are saturated with the creatine or phosphocreatine or ATP, which is what your body uses creatine to make, they have found small hypertrophic benefits from taking creatine post-workout versus pre-workout. So now we're dialing in when we're supposed to be taking our creatine, right? They've tried to look at it before the workout. It doesn't really seem to have a ton of like
Ergonomic.
No, that's like that feels good. Functional. Doesn't have a lot of functional benefits. So taking it beforehand and the benefits of the hypertrophy benefits of taking it after are minimal. So unless you're a bodybuilder, I was gonna say a high level bodybuilder, but really anybody, if you're a bodybuilder, you want to take creatine after your workout. If you're not a bodybuilder, you take creatine just at the same time every day. You just make sure you take it every single day. Moving on from performance, creatine has recently been being studied for cognitive and emotional benefits.
Yeah.
And it has had very, very promising finds in that aspect. A recent study that I was researching, that I was reading, I think it was led by the company, the brand Concrete, which they have made a creatine HCl supplement for years and years and years. They did an 8-week study in post-peri and menopausal women, and they found increased or improved reaction time with creatine HCl supplementation, and they've I don't know if they found improved or like less mood swings or like decreased severity of mood swings, or if they were just saying that it was indicative that it could help with this. But yeah, definitely better for reaction time because it increases the brain's phosphocreatine levels. I think it was from like 0 to 17%. So it's a pretty drastic change, pretty drastic improvement. And I think especially women, it's important because women just naturally create less creatine in their body than men do. So even if you and I have the exact same diet, which you're definitely not going to eat as much as me, so I'm making more creatine and I'm able to inject more.
Accepted.
Bring it on. You're just going to have less creatine available, right? So if we can give you that supplementation so that your body has more energy available, because your brain, your muscles use ATP for like 1 to 3 minute bouts of exercise. So like high exertion, low duration uses ATP. Your brain is an enormous ATP user because it's the same thing. It's quick, right? It has to be fast. So it has to have that fast energy source. It's not just like a fat process, which is much slower at breaking down that fat for energy.
Right.
It's more, it gives you more energy at the end of the day, but it's less efficient in terms of speed. Yes. And your body and your fast twist muscle fibers, they need that speed when it comes to that kind of energy output. So muscle creatines, creatine really helps with muscular power for the ATP reasons. It also pushes water into your cells so that they're better hydrated, so they have more, they can produce more muscle tension because they have more fiber, they have more water in the muscle fibers themselves, so they're already more tense and they're more ready to be used. And then past that, there's a lot of cognitive benefits from creatine as well, especially in sleep deprived people, or in stressful situations.
So I usually suggest to people that your first 5 grams of creatine that you supplement with each day is for cognitive benefits. The second 5 grams that you're going to, because I always tell people like take 5 grams at a time, especially if it's monohydrate. You don't want to get super bloated. Take 5 grams at a time. The second 5 grams you take is going to be for your muscle recovery and power output. Okay, so generally, like in the past, there was a loading phase of 20 grams a day, and then it, cut it back to 5 grams a day. I would suggest just stick with 10 grams a day. You don't have to load, but don't cut it back to 5 grams a day. Take at least 10 grams of creatine a day.
Blend it up, or you can take.
I split it up. I take 5 grams per time. I take up to 4 scoops per day because I have a lot of different drinks. Yeah, that's 20 grams. Now, if I'm more tired, I'll take 3 or 4 scoops. If I am sleeping well and I'm doing okay, then I'll take 2 scoops. I'll take one in my pre or post workout, and then I'll take one at some point later on in the day. Sometimes I take around
5 grams.
Yeah.
Creatine, I do know there's a Dr. Julian Brayton. She works with female hormones. She's a naturopath, I think. But she's talks a lot about like female health. She's recently had some things come out about creatine and performance as well too, which is very interesting. I feel like that's the new thing that I'm seeing. It's like creatine for women and kind of like supporting, maybe it is coming from the study that you read, just because her article talks about creatine's helping women with not only performance, but also with cognitive function and mood regulation. So it's in line with what you were talking about.
I do have that study pulled up, and it says the results. Supplementation with medium dose creatine hydrochloride was found to be superior to placebo, enhancing reaction time, increasing frontal brain creatine levels, and favorably modulating serum lipid profiles. Moreover, medium dose creatine hydrochloride demonstrated a potential advantage over other treatments in reducing the severity of mood swings. All interventions were well tolerated with no severe adverse effects recorded, which is very, very important because there is not a study out there that has recorded negative side effects from creatine supplementation. Now, if you have like liver or kidney issues, you're going to have to be a little more careful because creatine forces water into your muscle cells. If you are not well hydrated, we could come up with some
Stress.
some stress on the kidneys, but and if you have a really, really high protein diet, you're gonna have some stress on the kidneys too. So like we just want to be careful when we're looking at stuff like that. You want to make sure that you're well hydrated, but that goes back to getting all your low hanging fruit. If you're eating all whole foods, if you're drinking at least a gallon of water a day, and I think the recommendation is like half an ounce per pound of body weight, which is like super low in my opinion. But I say an ounce per pound of body weight, I guess, right?
A gram?
Yeah. No. 1 ounce of water. So if you're 128 pounds, you're drinking a gallon of water.
Oh, okay.
And I'm supposed to drink 200 ounces of water.
And how? Okay. Yeah.
Again, I think if you're drinking a gallon of water a day, you don't really need to think about stuff. Yeah, just stay hydrated. If you're eating whole foods, you're drinking water, and you're getting adequate amounts of sleep, you're probably not going to have a ton of extra issues. So, so creatine, definitely a must-have for everyone. And when I first started talking about this, I used to say if you're an athlete, if you're an athlete in anything, you should be taking creatine. Now I just say if you're a human being, you should be taking creatine.
Yeah, I think I have read some studies on it helping with memory, brain function, just several different things outside of like athletic performance.
Yeah. So it's really, really good for you. So as far as like the magic bullet goes, that's, in my opinion, that's as close to you get. It's as close to you get. So
Creatine, it does occur naturally in beef.
Yeah, red meat. So if you eat red meat, you're getting some creatine, but it takes a lot to get 5 grams of creatine. So definitely eat good foods, but like I said, I wouldn't be adverse to supplementing with creatine. Moving on, probably not my second favorite performance enhancing supplements, but definitely number 2 or 3, because the next two that I'm going to talk about are they're like right there. The next one's going to be beta-alanine, which is another supplement that is not necessarily timing based, similar to creatine, where it reaches saturation levels in your body. And basically what beta-alanine does is it helps to increase carnosine levels in your body, which helps to buffer like a lactic acid buildup. It helps to just prolong your performance potential, basically. So creatine helps to give you a little more power and strength out the gate. Beta-alanine helps for you to be able to perform just a few more reps at maximum effort. So when you pair those two things together, you get really good results.
Yes, babe, good job.
Um,
I was about to say all those things, but you covered it.
okay, so yeah, so I those would be really good for post workout or your nighttime casein shake. That was historically when I take a casein shake, I'm taking it with creatine. That was when I would always take my creatine.
Not beta-alanine.
You can.
Oh.
They supposedly the only thing that is like immediate is the skin tingling, which you can. That's dose dependent, right? That means that like you're immediately saturated. There's nowhere else for it to go, and then it binds with, or it affects your skin cells in a way that creates that feeling. Some people like it, some people don't. I love it. That's why I like taking beta-alanine before my workout, because as soon as I feel those tinglies, I'm like, all right, it's game time. You know?
Well, it's to feel alive.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But technically speaking, it doesn't have any like power benefits, any acute performance increasing benefits, technically speaking.
Okay.
But if we go back to the placebo effect and your mentality, if you're feeling that and you feel like I'm taking something that's helping me work out, is it helping you work out? I think so.
Interesting.
I think so.
Maybe I'll start thinking of it that way when I start feeling, because sometimes I do feel that and I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't really like that.
Yeah, and that's all you're thinking about, right? It's that one thing. But like now let's expand and think about what it means.
It's like, okay, my body is great.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so beta-alanine, that's, definitely one of my favorites. The research on beta-alanine is, I'm not going to say it's conclusive, but it's pretty strong in support. The next one that I really like is citrulline. I used to tell people to supplement with arginine, and then citrulline. It might have been on the market before this, but then citrulline got popular, and I learned that when you take arginine, your gut has an enzyme in it that we call arginase that breaks down arginine immediately. Like as soon as you take it, it's breaking down your gut. So like maybe half of it makes it to the rest of your body. And some people can experience some digestive upset because of that.
Interesting.
So I've suggested that people take citrulline because it does basically the same thing, but it actually increases your blood serum arginine levels more than taking arginine. So, and the purpose of this is a vasodilator. It's basically a nitric oxide enhancer. It increases the amount of nitric oxide that is available to your muscles by helping increase blood flow, right? So there's a couple mechanisms that work, but basically what you need to know is it's a vasodilator, helps with blood flow, gets you better pumps. That's why citrulline is going to be in pretty much every single pump workout.
I love pump.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like right now we're using CBUM Essentials because they use natural caffeine. It has like 6 grams of citrulline, which is the efficacious dosing. It has 3.2 of beta-alanine, same thing, and then it has some Himalayan pink sea salt, right? And that's pretty much it.
That is some caffeine. Oh wait, you said that. Yeah.
Just 200 milligrams per scoop, though, right? So it's not like 400 milligrams for the 6 grams of citrulline, right? It is actually dosed properly.
And it's green coffee bean.
Yeah.
I do like that supplement, and
Super basic.
simple.
Yeah, but that's all you need, right?
And there's no like proprietary blend and that lists all these things where you don't know what dosage of.
Which is basically nothing. Yeah, because then you look at the proprietary and you're looking at those. Oh well, I wonder how much it is. And then you look at the proprietary, it's like 1 gram of this, and you're like, oh, so there's not enough of any of these things.
Right.
But it should put it in. Yeah, they put it in there to say we put it in here, and it's proprietary because it's our special secret. And it's like, okay, well, your secret is that you're trying to save money, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah. So
Well, that's an important point when people are looking at and because I wanted you to actually kind of touch on that, because that's something you taught me when looking at pre-workouts, it can be overwhelming. There's a ton of things in the ingredients sometimes, or it's listed weird, but like knowing your dosage has helped me kind of eliminate some things when shopping and be like, okay, here are some things that are great. And ironically, that sebum, I think Essentials, it's called, you can get from Walmart or Amazon. It's a reasonable price.
You did a really good job with that product, I think, in my opinion. Is it making it available and making it like good for any athlete?
Right. I think it's a good combination of things.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's actually an interesting point, the proprietary blends, because back in the day when they first started coming out with pre-workouts, that was like most of them. Most of them were proprietary blends. And actually one of the reasons I signed up with Cage Muscle as an ambassador is because their pre-workout, not only was it the biggest scoop on the market, but everything was line itemed. Right? Like everything on the nutrition things. Yeah. Oh, except for their antioxidant blend. But it was like their total ORAC blend was 500 milligrams, and it just told you the different like fruits and veggies that they use in that. And that was like the one thing that didn't tell you exactly how much blueberry powder there is in there. So yeah, but everything else was listed, and everything else was, you know, there are efficacious dosing, which it means a dose at which this actually benefits you, right? So we want to make sure that we're achieving these levels, and it's not just like we were talking about with the bangs earlier. It's not just put on the label just to say that it's in there. It's actually doing a benefit for you.
Yeah.
So we touch on creatine, beta-alanine, citrulline. One, or I guess two that kind of recently came up. There are other like supposed power enhancers is betaine, and then beet juice extract or something like that. I don't have a ton of experience with those. Theoretically, the emerging, like the studies that have been done on them are kind of promising, but generally speaking, the companies performing these studies are the ones wanting to sell a product, so they're going to try to make it look like it's beneficial. I know it works, and I know it works for me historically, and I, before this podcast again, we were kind of talking about how I've kind of like decided on what I like to use. And I try to stay up to date with the new stuff coming on market, but you better realize that everything is marketing.
Yeah.
Everyone is just looking for that thing that someone else isn't doing right now so that they can make money.
Well, so people want a new thing all the time.
Yes.
So for supplement companies, because it's so saturated, I think to stay prominent, they have to keep coming up with something new.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just the basics are what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. That HMB is another one that's kind of emerging. That's like, you know, theoretically, helps with muscle growth and power output.
I did research on that, and it's very interesting because any like PubMed thing I read would provide benefit for people with like sarcopenia or like someone who like really needed help, not like a healthy person that was getting optimized. But if you look at a supplement company's website, I even looked at Animal's website, and they had this whole article on this synergistic effect of HMB and creatine, and they were citing a study which I couldn't find. But it was like a miracle.
Yeah, Transparent Labs is doing that too. They were talking about HMB and creatine.
So I'm just left in the like, I don't know. Like I don't really know who to trust. And
Well, again, going back to capitalism, right? And then I would also, which we're going to kind of touch on this anyway, so we can go and talk about testosterone boosters right now.
sure.
Testosterone boosters are very similar to the HMB studies in that when they do studies, they generally speaking put these protocols on people with clinically low testosterone, right? They're not doing a tribulus terrestris study on me. They're doing it on someone with the typical American diet, probably 47 years old, probably 50 to 100 pounds overweight, and yet they're probably going to have low testosterone levels. Their diet probably sucks. They're probably not getting enough sunlight.
They're stressed.
Yeah, so if you give them D-aspartic acid and tribulus terrestris, their testosterone is probably going to increase a little bit, but it's still probably, if this is baseline, it might go up to here. It might even go up to here, but it's not going to take you from here up to here.
Yeah.
And that's what supplement companies want you to think, is that it's going to take from here up to here, and that's how they pitch it. They don't lie about it, right? But they fudge the truth, and they don't tell you that this stuff increases testosterone in people with clinically low testosterone levels, right? They don't tell you that second part. So technically what they're saying is true, but if your testosterone levels are not clinically low, if you're not deficient in vitamin D, if you're not like, if you don't have some sort of other underlying issue, then probably not going to be very helpful for you. And if you're getting all your nutrients from real whole foods, probably not going to be super beneficial for you. So yeah, that's my take on testosterone boosters. I have tried a lot of them. And I have not noticed appreciable differences on or off testosterone boosters in my own training. So again, like if you get blood work done and you need a little help, you don't want to go into your T, we can definitely look into some of these options. We can see what's going to work for you. But I wouldn't look at, if you're a man and you're training and you're eating good food and you feel pretty good, I would look at a testosterone booster thinking it's going to further improve your performance. That's my take. Take it for what it's worth.
I think that's true. I think most of the time the problem with low testosterone in men is high stress, which is a common problem for most people. But where that's where you see the detriment coming from is that specific situation. So managing that might help. And like you said, you can use something to help support. But
Some test boosters have ashwagandha on it, and for that reason,
they don't have real to help with cortisol response. So you just want to be looking what the underlying issues are and taking a comprehensive approach is what I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So so we touched on creatine, beta-alanine, citrulline. One more that I wanted to talk about is glutamine, right? Because that is an age-old, right? Like these are things that, when I first was researching supplementation when I was in high school, these things were coming up. Glutamine has been touted as exceptionally beneficial for muscle recovery. It is. It does help with muscle recovery. It's a nitrogen donor. It helps it helps in a few ways. But first it has to get through your digestive tract. And the epithelial cells in your intestinal lining prefer to use glutamine as their fuel source. Okay, so supplementing with glutamine, the first thing it's going to do is help heal your gut. So if your gut is in such disrepair that it needs all that glutamine, it's not getting to your muscles if you're only taking 5 grams a day. Okay, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If you need it and you're taking it and you're using it properly, that's great, because now that's going to help you with things like gut permeability, leaky gut. It's going to help, which, like when you have leaky gut, your intestines basically like bleed microtoxins into your system. And that can often come up in like food intolerance tests, right? When you do a little blood prick and put on a paper and it comes up as like all these different foods are spiking your, you may not be intolerant to those foods. It may just be that you have leaky gut and it's bleeding these toxins into your system. Your system is like, yo, like this is not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So, right, like that's probably exactly what it says. So yeah, so I just like creatine, I say the first 5 grams for your brain. Glutamine, first 5 grams going to be for your digestive tract. If you're under stress, first 10 grams going to be for your digestive tract. If you're sick, first 5 to 15 grams going to be for your digestive tract and your immune system. And then whenever those systems are better and healed and they're happy, now whatever's left over can go to your muscle cells. So just like creatine, I would dose this in 5 gram increments multiple times per day based on your current lifestyle. I would start at 10 grams once in the morning, once at night. Super easy. And it could be a post-workout shake, right? Because creatine, building muscle, want to take a post-workout. So you can start creating your post-workout shake, and it can have creatine, glutamine, beta-alanine in it. Then your nighttime shake can have creatine and glutamine in it. And I use hydrocharge for these because I'm not looking for more protein because generally I eat enough protein. But I do like to have some electrolytes, which we'll touch on those after this as well. Yeah, and then the citrulline is going to be in your pre-workout. You have citrulline, you have caffeine. If you want to try something like betaine and HMB, you can try those pre-workout. But definitely your caffeine, your citrulline, you're going to want to take because caffeine is a vasoconstrictor, right? So caffeine, while it might give you more energy, it may cause your blood vessels to constrict. We want to keep them open. So we want the energy while maintaining the blood flow and nitric oxide supply. So we want to take the creatine, we want to take the citrulline at the same time, and that's going to give us a good pump while we're in the workout. So yeah, that's what I would suggest as far as supplementation. Now, some other things that you're going to see in pre-workouts, intra-workouts, other kind of supplementation that, you've heard you have to do this in order to be successful. I would say BCAAs are probably at the top of the list. The age-old thing is bodybuilders walking around with a gallon water jug of BCAAs. If you're not in a severe deficit, if you're eating enough food, if you're eating enough protein especially, probably don't need BCAAs. If you're in a calorie deficit, or if you want to work out fasted, but you're experiencing some blood sugar drops because now your calories are getting a little low, you want to have some BCAAs during your workout, you can do that because it'll help like protect the protein synthesis so your body doesn't feel like it has to go find those proteins somewhere else. It'll have the amino acids available and it can use those for energy. I would just caution everything in moderation. It's going to have artificial sweeteners. A lot of them have artificial colorings for whatever reason. Some companies use like beetroot extract for their color. Great. That's what Cage also uses. They don't use like Red 40 or anything. But, other companies don't care as much about that. They care about what it looks like. I've opened an energy drink can, poured it out. I'm like, why is this red? No one's looking at this. It's a can. You can't see it. Why do they put Red 40 in here? Nowadays, most companies leave it clear unless it's like, Red Bull. They're flavoring it. They're pink flavor. So anyway, I digress. BCAAs are branched chain amino acids. Was it leucine, isoleucine, or valine?
Yes.
Right. Theoretically, leucine is what triggers protein synthesis. So that's where that theory came from. Again, if you're eating enough protein, I don't think you need it. EAAs, your body cannot produce. They have to get it from your diet. So if you have a really crappy diet, you might need EAAs. Again, if you're eating whole foods, if you have a good solid whole food diet, you don't eat them. Also, they need a lot of flavoring because they taste very sulfuric. There's going to be a lot of sweetener and flavoring in those. So again, hates everything in action. Yeah, so you got to be really careful with that. What else is there? We touched on taurine. We touched on B vitamins. We've touched on like testosterone boosting aids.
You want to talk about electrolytes?
Yeah. Okay. So electrolytes are very important. And when we're talking about hydration, it's not just your water levels in your cells, right? It's not just your salt levels in your cells. It's not just your magnesium level. It's not just your potassium levels in your cells. It's the water level in your cells, and then it's the ratio of all these electrolytes against each other, right? So when we train, we deplete these electrolytes, especially when we're sweating. We sweat out a lot of sodium. And replenishing electrolytes is very important. How we choose to do it can vary. There's a few different electrolyte drinks on the market right now. I think LMNT is pretty high in sodium. That's a pretty good one. The most popular electrolyte drink is Gatorade. That's the most popular that there is. It's just sugar water, and it has like 100 milligrams of sodium in it. It's not an electrolyte drink. It is not. Like that is what they advertise it as, but it is not an electrolyte drink. It gives you glucose and a tiny, tiny amount of sodium. Tiny, tiny amount of sodium. And just for reference, if your serving of Gatorade has 120 milligrams of sodium, a saline bag that you get when you go to the hospital or something, or if you're in college and you get a hangover and you go to the health place, they give you a saline bag. There's 9,000 milligrams of sodium in that bag. And generally speaking, you feel better afterwards because we're dehydrated, and now you're rehydrating and you're getting that sodium in there as well. So hold on to that hydration. So when you hydrate without sodium, your body has a real hard time holding onto that hydration, just continues to pee it out. So it's really important to have the proper balances, because we can experience dehydration, we can experience cramping, which is muscular dehydration, and we can experience things like brain fog. right? And just like slow cognitive function when we're dehydrated or when we don't have enough salt or whatever. And salt is also integral for muscle contraction, right? And if you don't have enough salt, like I was cramping one time, and this is when it started. You gave me salt, and I was like, wow, cramps went away. And then I started doing that with some high school athletes. I had this one kid who was like, man, I'm cramping up. So I gave him a handful of salt. He went out there and he destroyed that lift. He's like, dude, I don't know what you just gave me, but like I felt so energetic. I felt so upbeat. And like, well, I can tell you why. Is because you're a high school athlete who's pushing himself and is not salting his food and is probably not hydrating properly, right? So now that I gave you the salt and told you to go drink 16 ounces of water, now your body is like, oh, okay, now we can wake back up, right? It's something similar to what happens when we're dieting, where our metabolism starts to downregulate, our energy levels come down to try to match that, and it becomes harder and harder for us to push. And it's because we just don't have the available resources. And it's the same thing here, right? Your body it's a conservationist. It's trying to save you. And when it feels like, hey, man, we probably shouldn't push right now because we're dehydrated, we don't have enough salt, or we don't have enough potassium, we don't have enough this, that, or the other, we need to listen to it and then try to make some modifications to rectify the situation.
Which we add salt to
Yes, yes. And so now we have
pre-workout was the rest of my sentence.
yeah, we've started prescribing salt for athletes because sometimes the amount that you're taking is less important than the consistency of the amount. Right. And just like you said, we add salt to our pre-workouts. I'll take a quarter teaspoon and I put in my electrolyte drink that I drink before the gym on my way to the gym. And then I bring a little mini mason jar of my pre-workout. I'll put a quarter teaspoon in that. And then I make an electrolyte drink when I get home and I put a quarter teaspoon in that as well. Because HydroCharge has magnesium, potassium, calcium, has antioxidants. It has a little bit of salt. I want more salt because I know, especially when I'm in Florida, I'm sweating my ass off and I need to replenish that.
Element T is 1,000 milligrams of salt, which is great because when people are in prep, it's an easy way for us to measure your sodium intake.
Yes.
And half meals and days if you have today. On top of like, ideally, it's great to measure when you're salting your food because not to cut you off, but like that's a problem that I see is people when they're dieting and food volume gets lower, there's less to salt. Also, your potassium is getting decreased because we're usually cutting carbs. And they're drinking tons of water because they're hungry. So they're trying to just like keep themselves full. So now I've thrown off this electrolyte balance. People are weak in gym. They're feeling extra tired because sodium is low. And so your renal system is very interesting in how it balances out. The leaner you get, the deeper into prep, the more sodium I find you needed, most athletes need. And so it's good to track on a weekly basis when you are dieting because I can see like, okay, you've been consuming 3,000 milligrams of salt. Let's bump up to 4 and see how you feel. I think people get afraid because like, I want to retain water. And some bodies are more sensitive. Some bodies, I give them salt and they just soft. So for peaking purposes, we're just very careful about that. For performance and cognition and general energy levels, we do it to make sure sodium is playing a role. And complementing with supplementation is a really easy way for people to have it in the regimen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed that like when I detailed my like salt supplementation regimen. When I deviate from that, I can still be salting my food and I'm probably still having more salt than my brother as well, for example. But I'm feeling dehydrated because my body is used to having this. Yeah. When that salt is lower, now I can't hold on to that water as much and I'm peeing it out a lot more. So yeah, and to your point about it was interesting. I was just thinking as you were saying, like some people get soft. We use it to like kind of tighten up where if someone has some loose skin or something, sometimes a little bit more salt can help.
Because it pulls water into the cell.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it works that way. So it helps give muscle pump, obviously, if like people do that in gym, but also for peaking.
Yeah, it can pull water into your skin cells too, and hydrate the skin so it's not like as thin, right? Sometimes you want that thin skin, but if you have some that's a little signing, then we want to just puff it up just a little bit, to just give it a little bit more body. And exactly, and it doesn't look soft at that point because it's doing what it's supposed to do. So Yeah, there's again, intentionality, right? You don't just throw a sink at it. You're intentional and you do things on purpose, not accidentally. So yeah, those are good points, babe.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um okay, so yeah, the electrolyte drinks that we like, Elementy is good. I use Cage Muscle Hydrocharge because I think it's probably the most cost effective. It's 60 servings for like $30.
I would agree.
I don't think you can get another electrolyte drink for 50 cents a serving. And then there's unmatched supplements. I like them because they don't use any artificial sweeteners or preservatives. Cage Muscle does still have a little bit of sucralose in it. But again, it's the most cost effective option. So like for right now, sometimes you got to pick your battles.
Right.
I don't have a ton of other unhealthy stuff, so like that's my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, I think those are probably my top 3. Look, there are others. I'm not saying there are not. And if you have a question, if you're using one and you want to ask us our opinion on it, feel free to reach out. Definitely. Because I know that there's like a million supplement companies right now. When we were coming up, there's like Optimum Nutrition and the GNC brand. I think if they had it at that point. I'll never forget going into GNC and looking at protein. You have chocolate, vanilla, and if you saw strawberry, man, that's what you're getting, because that it was like the new flavor, now there's like literally any flavor under the sun. There's 50 different supplement companies that you can pick for any given supplement, and they're all trying to market to you and tell you that they have what you need. And I'm telling you, you have what you need, and as soon as you realize that, you're going to become a much more empowered athlete. So
Yeah, I think there's some supplements that have a more important role. And when the first time I really started taking supplements was when I was prepping for bodybuilding. Because prior to that, uh, I don't know, it wasn't on my radar. But now I'm like, I have a coach. I'm getting this big list of things I need to take. And of course, like, I'm a follow the rules. I'm gonna do everything I have to do. So I think you can over supplement too, where you're just spending $500 a month on tons of different pills that maybe you don't need.
Well, let's go back to that coach, and that coach was an ambassador for that supplement company, right? And that
Most coaches do have some supplement.
which technically we are associated with unmatched supplements, right? I have unmatched and core nutritionals. I have accounts with them. We don't give our athletes a long laundry list of supplements that they need to take because of everything that we've discussed in this podcast. And generally speaking, when you have a coach who's associated and they give you that list, they didn't do blood work first. They just get you on. They say, okay, well, this is the protocol that I give to people, and that's not the words that they use, but that's essentially what it boils down to.
So we're bad supplement ambassadors.
Well, we're just bad, like it's used car salesman. That's what we are. We're not good at selling you on stuff. We want to educate
And not be like breaking the bank.
Yeah. Or if you think about it, car dealers or car salesmen are generally wealthier than teachers. We're okay with this, guys. We're okay with that. We want to educate. We're not here to sell you on stuff. And if you like what we're putting down, then pay us up as coaches. But like we're not gonna like try to sell you on a bunch of stuff and like upsell you from our coaching package. Being an athlete is a lifestyle, and it's a comprehensive lifestyle. It is not a sales tactic. We do not tell people to become athletes so that we can make money. We want people to be the best version of themselves, and no one should have to go through life and not find out what their body's capable of. And I definitely don't want people struggling to bend over and tie their shoes. I don't want people struggling to get up off the toilet. And that's why I tell people that my first goal for you is making you comfortable in your body. Whatever your goal for me is, when you come to me, I want to step on bodybuilding stage, I want to deadlift 1,000 pounds, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's fine. That's great. My first goal for you is getting you moving properly so that you are comfortable on a daily basis, because that is when we're going to start growing. And it goes back to being stressed, right? If you're constantly in pain, how much of your mental effort is going towards growth versus how much is like, man, this really fucking hurts, right? So we want to be comfortable so that we can then move forward and progress. And then I would say, that's my first goal. My second goal is whatever you want. My third goal is making up need me, right? And that's just to like educate you enough to make you feel comfortable. But Chris and I are always learning stuff. So that education is going to be perpetual. And some people want to just continue going down the list. Because that's what I tell people is my job is to give you a complete comprehensive list these are the things that are going to take you to get to where you want to go to. Now let's look at your life and see how many of these things you can get. If you only get 1 and 2, the gym and sleep, that's great. You're doing it. I want you to do it for 2 weeks. Now let's get your protein. Just prioritize protein. Get protein with every meal. Great. You're doing that. Do that for 2 weeks. Great. Now let's weigh your protein. Make sure you're getting enough. Now let's make sure you're getting enough water. Like there's a tier list. There's a step list. And our goal is to give that list and then to help you manage your life so that you can hit as many of those markers as possible. So yeah, we're never going to be the people who sell quick fixes. So apologize if you guys were looking for that one thing and you didn't find it in this podcast.
Listen to the whole thing.
So
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on supplementation?
I think that's it. Like I said, there's a lot of things that we didn't discuss. So if you guys have questions, or comments about anything that we discussed in this podcast, definitely let us know. Comment on the video so other people can see the comments and questions. Like if you have a question, you're not the only one, I guarantee it. And a lot of people are afraid to ask questions because they don't want to look stupid. The only way you can learn things is by being unafraid to look stupid, right? You have to try something the first time. Everything you do, you had to try it for the first time. You probably didn't do it great the first time. Be okay with that. When you're okay with that kind of like failure or looking silly, that's when you can really start to progress. So drop some comments, leave some questions. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Let us know what supplement stack works for you. Let us know what conditions you have that you supplement with certain supplements for. We love learning, and by no means was this podcast meant to be a completely comprehensive list of supplements that you could buy at a store. This is just low-hanging fruit and what people should start to focus on when they're pursuing this terrain.
All right, so you heard it. If you're watching on YouTube, send us some questions. Let us know your thoughts. If you do like to put the podcast, please like and subscribe. That does help us be able to reach more people. Doing podcasts is a lot of work. So that's just the greatest way that you could say thank you if you enjoyed. If you are interested in coaching, you can visit recklesstraining.com, or our Instagram handle is reckless_training, and you can send us a message there, and we'd be happy to have a discussion, answer questions, talk about what you want to achieve, and see if we're the right coaches for you. So with that,
Work hard, stay humble, train reckless.